How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Now, as you know, there's a lot of rumors going around right now, well, one in particular, about Hi-Fi Rush going to Nintendo Switch. Now, there is news that this could potentially go to PlayStation as well, but the notion of it going to Nintendo Switch seems to be highly, is the one that people are focusing on more, and it's a real possibility. Now, I released a video on this early this morning where I gave my thoughts on it and how, as Peter Ovo said, people want Xbox to have exclusives, but the moment they have exclusives, everyone and their mother, their grandmother, their poodle, whatever you want, is basically wanting that exclusive on their platform. It's almost like Xbox can't have any exclusives. Now, after I made that video, I went bed. It was really late. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to think about it. So I've been doing a lot of thinking today and thinking to myself, why is Microsoft doing this? If they are indeed doing this, there's no confirmation that any of this is real. Of course, this could all be fake. This could all just be someone making this up. Like, Nate the hate might actually, just be making all this stuff up or just had bad info, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a rumor. If it doesn't materialize, all it can say is, I didn't say it was real. I just said it was a rumor. And because he's actually got some credibility about some of the leaks that he's done, well, there's a bit more weight to it, but it's not like he can't be wrong. And if he is, that'll just get passed up as, hey, well, I was wrong. But let's look at this, the notion that he isn't wrong. And let's just look at the view that he was right. And then this is actually going over to, the Nintendo Switch. What positives can come from this? Now, I know a lot of people are saying, you know what? If they're not going to give us anything in return, well, where is the benefit of that? I'm seeing a lot of things on Twitter right now where if they're going to take this, we want Metroid or we want Bayonetta, an eye for an eye, basically. If we're giving you an exclusive, we want an exclusive back. And that's not, an actual bad deal. But there was another conversation that was going on, and one that I think is a lot more plausible, and one that I think could actually have some weight on it. And that is the fact of future acquisitions. Now, we know Microsoft continuously says that there is this notion of a, game by game basis. They've always said this, and because of that, it basically means that no game is safe. At the end of the day, at some point, a game that we think is going to be exclusive may not be exclusive. For the time being, Elder Scrolls 6, for example, is exclusive, and I do see that being exclusive going forward. I don't really see that changing. But we also know that Microsoft wants to buy more. And one of the things that Microsoft has been telling the regulators is that on a case-by-case basis, games will be put to other platforms. Now, if they give a few games here and there to Nintendo, especially Nintendo, who, let's be real, is just one of the platforms that really is so far apart from the actual trio. I know there's a trio in the market with PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, but the reality is it's a duopoly. It's not a three horse race. Nintendo is off on the side doing their own thing within their own ecosystem and their own kind of circle. They don't really care what's happening in the circle of Xbox and PlayStation. They have what they're doing and they're quite happy with it, making their money, making their profits, and just having a good time with their consumers. They've been providing banger games and, they're off on the side doing what they do best, and that is to, provide for their community. A game like Hi-Fi Rush, or even Psychonauts for that matter. There's a lot of people saying that Psychonauts could be the game that's going here. Jez Corden turned around and said it could be Microsoft Flight Simulator that might be going to PlayStation. I still think it's either going to be Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, Psychonauts could definitely be one of them because it is not available, I don't think, on the Nintendo Switch. But I think there's a bigger picture here if we want to look at it. Now, obviously, if it's a big, stark change from what I said in my previous video. But at the end of the day, after reading some of the stuff on Twitter, and don't get me wrong, I still stand by it. I think exclusivity has a place in the market. It defines your brand. I get the notion more people playing is good and gatekeeping is bad, but it does define your brand. And that is just one of the things that exclusives do. You know, when you think of Nintendo, you're thinking of Mario, you're thinking of Luigi, you're thinking of Splatoon, you're thinking Astral Chain, you're thinking Xenoblade. You know, these are the games that come to my mind. Metroid, all of these games are, you know, Nintendo games. When I think of PlayStation, I think of Ratchet and Clank, God of War, The Last of Us. When I think of Xbox, I think of Halo, Gears, Forza. I think of now COD. I think of Diablo. I think of, you know, Overwatch. These are now associated with the Xbox brand. But if you start to dilute that exclusivity to other platforms, like, say, they're doing with COD, which, you know, for all intents and purposes, will indefinitely be on PlayStation as long as the PlayStation brand exists, based on, you know, a declaration that Phil gave in the FTC trial to Judge Corley. Well, you're starting to dilute the brand. But what if that's not being, you know, what if that isn't what is happening here? What if what's actually happening here is Microsoft trying to look good for the regulators by giving a game that they feel might not actually be selling enough Game Pass subscriptions? Because don't forget, this game was supposed to be announced at E3 2020, but due to the acquisition of ZeniMax, it got pushed back. Then it was supposed to be announced during the during the trial of ABK. It got pushed back again, and eventually it got to the point where they didn't even have time to even do a proper reveal for the game, and they just shadow dropped it, hoping to God that the game would be successful, and it was very well received. But the reality is, this game was supposed to be announced in 2020, and you know, it actually worked out really well for them. I'm really happy because the game is awesome. But if they start giving the odd few game like this away, not only is it more revenue for Microsoft, which I guess that is the bottom line that Microsoft is looking at because Game Pass is the core, maybe this can start to shift views that maybe, you know, Game Pass could at some point appear on the Nintendo Switch. But ultimately, I think it's none of those. What I think is the main thing here is the fact that they are looking to acquire another studio or publisher this year. Whether that's going to be EA, Sega, or, you know, someone else. I don't think it'll be Capcom. I know a lot of you kind of want it to be Capcom. That would be like ridiculously huge, but they are doing so well at the moment that they really don't need it, and I think they should remain independent anyway. But I think they're actually gearing up for another acquisition this year. And I think what they're doing now is basically saying, look, to the regulators, we did say on a game-by-game basis, if it is Hi-Fi Rush or Psychonauts, they can turn around and say, these were Game of the Year contenders, or, you know, as for Psychonauts 2, one Game of the Year, I think it did when it, or was it Psychonauts 1? One of the two actually won Game of the Year, or were nominated for Game of the Year anyway. And as such, you know, we are delivering on our promise to review games, you know, case by case. And we're not just saying that only multiplayer games will go to other platforms. We're saying that even single players have a chance to appear on rival platforms, because that was the commitment and that was the promise we made to you. Therefore, we are giving you no reason to doubt our sincerity or doubt what we are saying when we agree to the same terms, that games will be on a case-by-case basis decided on what will appear on rival platforms. And I think that's where this is heading. I think, you know, in 2024, Microsoft is gearing up to buy another publisher. I think a lot of people are looking at this as ludicrous, especially after the ABK case. And we know that the FTC is still trying to, you know, derail the acquisition. But I think Microsoft in the background, while this FTC trial is going on, which should resolve in about a month or so, gets out the way. And while they're setting the seeds and the groundwork to show the regulators that we do, you know, honor our agreement, we are being fair, we are providing this content to rival platforms as we promised, why would you want to now block us again when we have given you zero reason to do so? Why, if you are going to block us, will you do that? And if it needs to go to court again, well, at that point, Microsoft has even more ammunition to turn around and say, look, last time with ABK, they said X, Y, and Z, and we promised, and we've got Call of Duty there, we're updating Diablo, everything is day and date, everything is on parity, we're not taking any advantage. And for the case-by-case games, we've even turned around and said that, you know, we will review those case by case, and we have. And here's examples of games that were exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, but are now on rival platforms, just like we promised we said we would do. Therefore, what exactly is your reason to stand there and actually turn around and reject this merger? Because by saying that we're going to restrict it from other platforms and, you know, withhold the games, that's not true. We've proven that with Activision Blizzard games, we've proven that with live service ZeniMax games, and now we're proving that with Microsoft games. So where does this notion that we're going to do that stem from? Is it just from the whole probability that we can? That's not good enough, right? In the eyes of the Lord, that's not good enough. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you are going to do something. So I think that this is the play here. And that's the one that actually makes the most common sense to me, the one that actually makes the most, you know, the most logical thought process. I know my last video, I actually turned around and kind of went off the rails a bit, but at the same time, I was kind of tired of it being one rule for one rule for another. And the way people treat the brand, I think, is just unacceptable. But with a bit more clear sight, with a bit more thought process actually going in, I think this is where it's heading. And I think this is the reason why we're going to see this game or Psychonauts or whatever it is that's going over to a rival platform actually going there. I think it is to butter up and basically support their case for another merger, and they will use it as ammo to say, you're saying that we are going to foreclose games. Well, look at this. This is a Game of the Year nominee. We could easily have kept it exclusive to Xbox. It could have, you know, brought us in more potential Game Pass subscribers, but we've put it onto a rival platform because we feel that that is what is best for the game. And therefore, the notion that we will foreclose everything is simply false, not accurate, and is misrepresenting what we are trying to say. And that will hold a lot of weight in court. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion. But that's my thought process. This could actually be a good thing overall. But you let me know, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. Right, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.